Welcome to Split Decision, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Michael Zahorsky. This is Anthony Willis.
How's it
How
going?
you doing today, man?
Really good.
After today, we have one more episode, dude.
One more. Sad to see it come to an end so soon.
That's crazy.
But we're gonna make it work while we can.
We are going to make it work. Now, last night, the New York Jets took on the New England Patriots, and this was a game that was supposed to be a heavyweight battle, two teams pounding each other. Anthony, it was one team pounding the other. And you were telling me before the show that the Jets had this coming to them.
The Jets did all the talking, and the Patriots did all the walking. It's as simple as that. Throughout the week, Rex Ryan was a real funny guy throughout the week, saying how he's similar to Tom Brady, how he has a wife, a supermodel wife, and holds up the little magazine and everything, and talking about Belichick and the Patriots, but you keep talking about them, and even though the Patriots may not say it, they're listening. They're listening, and the Patriots came out and they let the Jets know who the beast of the AFC East truly are.
Mm-hmm. And when you think of this from the perspective of market, you've got the Jets who are from the New York area, so obviously the media is going to blow up everything they do. And the Patriots are from the Boston area, which is a big enough media big enough media market themselves. But the Patriots aren't just Boston's team. They're the team for the entire New England region, which is huge. That is so many people they cover. Nevertheless, last night, Tom Brady was unbelievable. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He has 27 touchdowns on the year and just 4 interceptions. Which Tom Brady is playing better? The one that did it 2007 or this one?
I think this Tom Brady is definitely playing better because the one in 2007 had Randy Moss, who was setting the league record for, 23 touchdown catches. Whereas, this Tom Brady is going back to his early New England days where he has a bunch of really no-name players around him, but he's still producing and he's putting up big numbers with people like Danny Woodhead and, Deion Branch and 2 rookie tight ends. That's also impressive that you could just throw 2 rookie tight ends in your offense and produce a lot of points.
Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski have both been excellent
so
this
I
year.
definitely would take this Tom Brady over the 2007 Tom Brady, even though he did throw 50 touchdowns that season.
Mm-hmm. And you know what's interesting, Anthony? Wes Welker's catches have gone down, but the rest of the team as a whole collectively have gone up. So he's spreading the ball around, and Deion Branch just was so much better than Antonio Cromartie last night. Him and Tom Brady just seem to have picked up right where they left off from when they used to play together. And
we didn't even mention Darrelle Revis. That shows you how ineffective he was last night, too.
Yep. Didn't hear his name once. Now, there was another big rivalry game on Sunday night, the Steelers-Ravens. Now, I've said this is one of my favorite games of the year. Why? This is how football is supposed to be played, ladies and gentlemen. 2 teams just hitting each other all game, and it lived up to the hype, Anthony. Both teams hit each other, and the difference of the game was a Troy Polamalu sack. He really is Joe Flacco's nemesis.
Yep, a strip fumble. Yeah, you're right. They were hitting right from the beginning when you got that shot of Roethlisberger's nose being, twisted to the side. I may not be a doctor, but I know noses are not supposed to go like Roethlisberger's was. But they bloodied Roethlisberger up early. The Ravens actually had a couple of big plays in the game. They had a 61-yarder, I think, to Anquan Bolden and another 60-yarder to Dante Stallworth, but they just weren't converting, these into points. I mean, they only came away, the score was only 7-0 at halftime. So if the Ravens would have capitalized on more of their opportunities early, then I think they could have not blew the game open, but they could have definitely made it more than 7-0 at halftime, which, of course, kept Pittsburgh in the game.
Mm-hmm. And they had a chance to bury the Steelers. They had a chance to really blow the game a little bit open to the point where they would have taken away Pittsburgh's ability to run the ball, and they just could have rushed Ben Roethlisberger the entire game. And because their offense couldn't get going, they just could not sustain balance on defense. They had to play to Ben Roethlisberger's terms.
Yeah, and if the Ravens had, basically 11 Terrell Suggs playing on their offense and on their defense, they definitely would have won this game because Terrell Suggs
was a nightmare.
A beast. that game. I think he had, 5 hits on the quarterback, 1.5 sacks in that game, 1.5 sacks. Terrell Suggs was all over the place.
But what about that one play, the end of the game on 1st and goal where he was going for the ball, and Ben got away and just threw the ball away? If he sacks Ben Roethlisberger there.
Players get caught up a lot in, seeing the ball and trying to strip it when they should be just trying to make the tackle. And, if you make the tackle, then one of your teammates can come and strip the ball. But you don't do that on a 6'7" quarterback as big as Roethlisberger trying to just strip the ball like that. He's too big and he's too strong for that. But it was a great game. Me and you picked Baltimore. We were close, but, that late strip sack by Polamalu was the difference in that game.
That's why he is the best defensive player in the league. Anthony, there were some other Week 13 games apparently, too. Why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, let's get started with the Saints and the Bengals. This was a great game. I didn't think the Bengals would show up in this game because they haven't really shown up all season, but they played with the Saints to the final gun. But as you see, Drew Brees hooking up with Marcus Colston on this touchdown here. The Saints, you can see why they are the defending Super Bowl champions. On 4th and 1, they really weren't going to go for the 4th down. They were just going to try and draw Cincinnati offside, and they took the bait, and Pat Sims jumped offsides, allowing the Saints to go up by the final score of 34-30. So the Bengals did show up. Kudos to them, but they didn't win the game. Mike, what about the Bills and the Vikings?
Well, Brett Favre got knocked out early in this game, and it was a tough hit. And Sidney Rice, you could see today, Anthony, when he's on the field, the Vikings are a different offense.
Yeah.
And Adrian Peterson on a bum ankle had 107 yards on 60 carries, including this 43-yard touchdown run right here. That kind of speed and power is unbelievable. Why he isn't considered the best running back in the league by anyone is amazing.
Give him the ball more. Now let's go to Indianapolis for the Cowboys and the Colts. And what is wrong with Peyton Manning and the rest of this Colts team? Peyton Manning is another game with 4 interceptions. I think he's thrown somewhat to the tune of 11 interceptions in his past 3 games. The Cowboys are definitely playing with some renewed sense of urgency under Coach Jason Garrett. Peyton Manning threw a costly interception in overtime that would give the Cowboys the ball back, and eventually gave them the game also. So the Colts now are finding themselves in a struggle for the AFC South.
4 of those interceptions have been pick sixes. Wow. Now, Falcons-Buccaneers here in an NFC South showdown. And Tampa Bay had this 24-14 lead in the 4th quarter, and then Atlanta had that miraculous kickoff return for a touchdown, and then Matt Ryan here with a dart to Michael Jenkins. And the Atlanta Falcons are 10-2, along with the New England Patriots. And we'll see what Atlanta does come playoff time. If they get home field, they're going to be very tough to beat. Now, Anthony, again, a coach is fired in the middle of the season. Now, the Broncos were not doing well at all. After starting 6-0 last season, Josh McDaniels' team has gone 5-16 since, and they gave him the gate. Running backs coach Eric Studesville is now the interim head coach. Anthony, who's to blame for the collapse in Denver? Is it the lack of players, the lack of talent? Is it the coach, or is it the ownership?
I think it's giving a 34-year-old coach total power after he's never been a head coach in the league before. I think this whole Broncos-McDaniels marriage was doomed ever since April 2009. If you guys remember, that was when Jay Cutler was traded from the Broncos to the Bears. And then the next season, them trading away Brandon Marshall, they traded away Tony Scheffler.
Peyton Hillis.
This season, they trade away Peyton Hillis, who's now about to have a 1,000-yard season, has 11 rushing touchdowns this season. So when you give a young guy like this, especially a young protege of Bill Belichick, it's just something about these Belichick, people on the Belichick tree, when they go off on their own, they just get kind of big-headed, and they think they're Bill Belichick.
They think they're Bill Belichick.
Yeah, and then they get that Charlie Weiss, he's fired from Notre Dame. Romeo Crennel went off on his own in Cleveland. He got fired from Cleveland. And now McDaniels is just continuing the trend, and now he's fired from the Denver Broncos. So
let's recap everything that's happened since Josh McDaniels came to Denver. You get rid of Jay Cutler, who now is the quarterback of a team that's 9-3
Don't move.
and could have a home game and a bye week in the playoffs. You get rid of Brandon Marshall, one of the best receivers in the league, a physical specimen, a 6'5" receiver.
Good for 100 catches a season.
Oh, yeah. Peyton Hillis is one of the top 5 leading rushers in the NFL. And Tony Scheffler is a good, solid tight end. And your coach has gotten rid of all of them. I mean, yes, when McDaniels came in, it turned into, it was an okay team, Anthony, but he made a mess of things. This is a team that is a minimum of 4 years away from playoff contention. It's really sad what's happened there because it's a great fan base.
It's a shame because the moves that he's made has set this franchise back, a couple more years, and now whoever's the next head coach has to clean up his mess that Josh McDaniels has made. So, we'll see what the Broncos do going forward.
Now, it's bowl season, man.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. We just got done
bowl
championship weekend with all the conference championship games. And one of the games I was very interested in because it's going to be arguably the last game in this rivalry, Oklahoma-Nebraska. 2 teams that have been playing for a long time. And they played the Big 12 championship game, and Oklahoma won a thriller 23-20. For the second straight year, Nebraska loses a heartbreaking Big 12 championship game, and Oklahoma's going to face Connecticut. Who do you like in that one?
Are you kidding me? Oklahoma Sooners in that game. Connecticut has no business. I know they won the Big East, sure, yeah, they won, but I don't think Connecticut has any business in a BCS bowl game. Something has to be fixed about a 4-loss team, even though they won their conference, being in the BCS title game. This is a mismatch from the start. Oklahoma's defense is just going to be too much for them.
Did Boise State belong when they played Oklahoma?
Very true, very true, very true. But I just don't see Connecticut having an offense like Boise State had
That's true.
to compete.
And I don't think a Statue of Liberty will work on
I don't
Oklahoma.
think Bob Stoops will let that happen again either.
No. Now, Florida State and Virginia Tech.
This was a good game.
This was a very good game, high-scoring game. A lot of people expected Miami at the beginning of the year to be in this game. We talked about Miami. But in this one, look, Virginia Tech started the year 0-2, losing to Boise at a close one, and losing that game to JMU, a team they should run over most of the time. So Virginia Tech is going to play Stanford in the Orange Bowl.
This is going to be a really, really good game. This is a very intriguing game.
I like Virginia Tech, and I'll tell you why. I'm not sure if Andrew Luck is ready for the speed of Virginia Tech's defense. They're faster than people think. Wisconsin, TCU, who wins?
That's a tough game. Both have hard-hitting defenses. Both have, fairly good offenses. I mean, as much as I like TCU, I might have to give the slight edge to Wisconsin just because of the level of competition that they've been playing against all season, playing in the Big Ten. But that doesn't mean that, I don't think TCU can win this game at all. I think they can.
Oh, yeah. TCU has a real shot in this game. And real quick before we go to a commercial, Anthony, Ohio State, Arkansas.
I really like this game. I love Brian Mallett. Ryan Mallett was my Heisman pick before the season started. But I think I might have to go with Ohio State in this game.
A Big Ten team's going to beat an SEC team finally?
I liked it because Arkansas's defense doesn't play well at all. Arkansas's defense has been a liability for them for most of the season. Ryan Mallett has been, carrying that team for most of the season. I think Pryor shines on the big stage like he did last season against Oregon, in the BCS Bowl.
Speaking of Oregon, when we come back, we're going to talk about the national championship game. Stay tuned.
Good transition.
Jonesy kitty, Jonesy cat. She is my kitty. She is my squiddy. She is my Jonesy. She is my Jonesy cat. She is my cat.
Things can get pretty ugly when you're bored. In an after-school program, you can find something way better to do.
I like to volunteer with the Neighborhood Emergency Response Team to help the firefighters. As you know, I was Fireman of the Year 3 times.
You're Mariano Rivera.
Thank you.
Fireman of the Year is a baseball award.
Yes.
You're not actually a fireman.
No.
Fireman of the Year, huh?
Just a few more minutes.
When you help your neighbors, you help your nation. Make a difference. Volunteer. Learn how at usafreedomcorps.gov.
What is that thing?
Looks like somebody's double chin. Must have lost it snacking on fruits and vegetables.
Somebody's gonna trip on that.
Anthony, I feel like since we started the season, the commercials have upgraded a little bit. We had Mariano Rivera on our show.
Starting to get a little newer.
Mariano Rivera
Yeah.
on our show. That's awesome. Now, we just mentioned all the BCS Bowl games except the national title game, so let's talk about that.
All right.
Now, Auburn over the weekend played in the SEC Championship against South Carolina, and a lot of people said that South Carolina, with their running game, with Marcus Lattimore, could perhaps compete in this game. That was not the case.
They kept it close earlier this season. I forgot the score of that game, but I know they kept it really close in that game earlier. But Cam Newton on a big stage, he was not having any of South Carolina can compete in this game. South Carolina may keep this close. Just from the opening kickoff, Auburn just took control of this game, and they proved why they're the best team in all of college football, and they prove why they're number one and why they're headed to the national championship game.
Now, Cam Newton, you want to hear some mind-boggling numbers, Anthony?
Yeah,
He
tell
has
me.
48 touchdowns this season, 28 passing, 20 rushing.
He's creeping up on another former SEC quarterback that just left last year from Florida. He's creeping up on his
On Tim
touchdowns.
Tebow? Oh,
Tim
yeah.
Tebow, yeah, he's creeping up on his numbers. So
I think
look out
Newton
for
is
that.
better than Tebow, though.
You think so?
I think Newton is better than Tebow.
Why do you say that?
I like Newton's throwing motion better. I think
That's true.
it's a
Okay.
quicker release. It's a faster throw. I think it'll translate to the NFL. Now, Oregon played in the Civil War Bowl against Oregon State. And Oregon State played kind of a tough game, and you knew they were going to. This is a huge rivalry in college football. But Oregon was just too much. They won the game by a final of 37-20. Now, Anthony, Oregon, they have this no-huddle offense that's unbelievable. Chain gangs have been complaining that they can't keep up with it, but nobody watching the game is going to care. We like a high-flying offense. So it's just unbelievable how fast this offense moves. It really is.
They might have to get some speedy players from Oregon's bench to run the chain gang so they can keep up with their own teammates if the chain gang is complaining. But besides them being so fast, with their no-huddle offense, they're the best fourth quarter team in all of college football. So, going into the national championship game, that's another reason why I like Oregon by the slightest of margins. Remember
We said that a
this
few
much.
weeks ago by this much.
This much because of their fourth.
I've changed my mind. I like Auburn.
You think you like?
I don't see anybody stopping Cam Newton right now. And you know what? This isn't taking anything away from Oregon. They are a great team. Most years, they would win the national title game. But this Auburn team, Anthony, they can play.
Yeah, I think they're a team on a mission to, going back to that season where they went, 13-0 and got left out of the national championship game. And then a couple years ago, they got slighted also during that season. So a lot of these players remember a couple years ago. A lot of people remember back when they were 13-0. So I think it's probably might be Auburn's time. It's hard to call this game, but I still like Oregon by the slightest of margins.
Now, Jason Worth has been the best right-handed hitter on what has been the National League's most consistent team for the past 4 years. And the first team to contact him were the Boston Red Sox. And then there was a theory that maybe the Phillies were talking to him too for a comeback year. But he went to Washington, of all teams. I mean, yes, the contract was ridiculous, $126 million over 7 years. But, we see so many times in baseball that players want to go to a contending team. Why do you think the New York Yankees have been good for so long? Why do you think the Phillies have been good the past few years? Same with the Atlanta Braves. So, why go to a team that could be in the cellar of the National League East?
Basically, I look at it as Jason Worth chose money over winning. Because, as you know, Washington's not going to have their phenom, Steven Strasburg, I think, for all the next season
All of
because of the
2011.
Tommy John surgery. So basically, Jason Worth chose money over winning. You would think that he would like to go to a contender, maybe take a little pay cut, I guess, to stay with the Phillies, or like you said, the Red Sox even called them. But I think Jason Worth, his eyes and ears lit up when his agent told him, I can do the same thing I did for Matt Holliday for you with, I think Matt Holliday, what did he get, 120 million, 7 years, something like
Yep.
that. So he actually did better, but I don't know how much better it gets when you're on the Washington Nationals, who's going to obviously be in the cellar of the NL East.
Yep. I mean, people are like, oh, this is such a blow to the Phillies, but listen, the Phillies have the best pitching in baseball, by far. The Giants were hot at the end of last year.
Yeah.
But 3 starters on one team to start a rotation, give me Halladay, Oswalt, and Hamels any day of the week. There's no reason to believe the Phillies won't win this division again. There's no reason that Jason Worth alone is going to make such a big difference on the Nationals, who lost Adam Dunn too, by the way. And you know what? If Jason Worth had gone to Boston, he would have been hitting with Adrian Gonzalez and David Ortiz.
That's true, because the Red Sox did just acquire Adrian Gonzalez. And with Dominic on the Phillies, with Dominic Brown and Ben Francisco, the Phillies will find somebody to fill Jason Worth. It may, may not get off to the start they wanted to, but they'll fill his position. Ruben Amaro Jr. has been great making moves for the Phillies, so the Phillies will recover from this, definitely.
Now, Anthony, we get to make our fantasy picks.
Okay.
So I'm going to start in the NFC North. Aaron Rodgers is going to light up the Detroit Lions. Is there any question about it?
No, there's not.
He's going to light up that defense. It's a horrible defense, and they just lost Alfonso Smith. And Ndamukong Suh might be suspended. Aaron Rodgers, 4 TDs, no interceptions. Jamal Charles is going up against the San Diego Chargers. Now, before the past week, San Diego had the NFL's #1 run defense. And then Oakland came in there and became the second team in the past 23 seasons to put up more than 250 rushing yards on the San Diego Chargers. The other one being the Minnesota Vikings in 2007 when Adrian Peterson ran for 296 in a game. So I think Jamal Charles will have a big week this week. No reason not to believe that the Chargers are going to get any better on run defense. Now, wide receiver, I like Marcus Colston going against the St. Louis Rams. Rams are a shaky defense. No reason to really trust them. The only way the Rams could prevent this is if Chris Long plays out of his mind. Don't see it happening. Start Marcus Colston this week. Defense, I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings defense against the Giants. Why? Ooh. Eli Manning in his career, Anthony, against the Vikings. 0-4, 2 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. I think it's a safe pick.
Yeah, that is a very safe pick. And for my sake, yeah, I do like that pick, the Giants defense against the Vikings offense. I like that. And for my picks, give me Joe Flacco against the Houston Texans. I've been picking a lot of quarterbacks against that Texans pass defense because it continues to rank 32nd in the league, against the pass. So why not keep picking every quarterback that goes against the Houston Texans? For running back, give me Peyton Hillis versus the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are dead last in rush defense, and Peyton Hillis is on his way to his first 1,000-yard season. He has 11 rushing touchdowns and 2 receiving touchdowns, so he's been a value to fantasy owners.
Denver fans are crying.
Yeah. Brandon Lloyd, give me Brandon Lloyd against the Arizona Cardinals. Our Cardinals defense has been horrible all season, and their offense doesn't help because they're almost last in every category. So, that doesn't help your defense. And for defenses, give me Atlanta's defense against the Carolina Panthers' anemic offense. I've been picking a lot of defenses versus Carolina's offense.
Makes sense. Makes quite a bit of sense. So now let's pick some actual games. The Colts are going to beat Tennessee on Thursday night, Anthony. I think Peyton Manning finally rebounds. I think he finally gets back on track. I don't necessarily think this means that the Colts will win their division. I think that is left to be seen. But I think Peyton Manning gets back on track this week. The Vikings are going to beat the Giants. Eli's never beaten the Vikings in his career, and until he does, I will never pick the Giants to beat the Vikings. The Cowboys are going to beat the Eagles.
Ooh,
now,
I don't like that one.
I know you don't like that one, but the Cowboys did beat the Eagles 3 times last year. So until the Eagles beat them again, I'm going to pick the Cowboys. And the Baltimore Ravens, they're really upset about Sunday night. Now, the argument is to be made that they could have an emotional letdown week, but come on, Anthony. With Ray Lewis in that locker room, is there a such thing as an emotional letdown?
Heck no,
Absolutely
not with Ray barking and getting in everyone's faces before every game. I bet he does it in practice too.
No way.
Barking and get. But I have basically what I think are the 2 biggest games of next week. I have the Patriots going into Chicago and beating the Bears. This will be a classic. I think it'll be a nice chess match between Bill Belichick and the offense versus Rod Marinelli and the Bears defense. The reason why I like the Patriots, if you asked me a couple weeks ago, I might have leaned towards Chicago because of their defense and the Patriots' pass defense being weak. But after seeing what the Patriots can do Monday night, it's kind of hard to bet against Tom Brady, even on the road. And to contradict Mike, I think Philly will go into Dallas and beat the Cowboys because I'm going to give you 2 scores to remember. 24-0, 34-14. Those are the 2 scores from the last 2 games of the season against the Cowboys and the Eagles.
You seem to be forgetting the playoff game, 34-7.
It was 34-14. That was the playoff game, the wild card game. The Eagles scored a late touchdown to Deshaun Jackson.
Absolutely true.
Most of the Eagles, they remember that game. They remember that game. Basically everybody was there for that game. So I think they, have a sense of urgency to beat the Cowboys. And, with Michael Vick at quarterback, he's not going to let the team get lax. Whereas Donovan McNabb, I think they just kind of took the foot off the pedal at the end of the season versus the Cowboys.
All right, Anthony, this is your second to last Ant rant. Make it a good one.
Well, second to last Ant rant goes out to Sexy Rexy and the New York Jets. All season, they've been talking about how they are the best team in the NFL. Rex Ryan goes and signs the tour bus when they did the tour of the 32 training camps. Soon to be champs or whatever he signed it. They've been talking all season. Talk is good, but you have to back it up. They've talked all this past week about the New England Patriots. Like I mentioned earlier, Rex Ryan talked about how he's just like Tom Brady and he has a supermodel wife and all that. But you come out on Monday Night Football in prime time, a chance to show the nation that you are the best team in the league like you claim, and you only put up 3 points in one game. 3 points. Now, those 3 points would have been good if the Patriots put up 0 and it was a 3-0 game, but the Patriots upped you by 42 points, and the final score was 45-3. Everyone is jumping on Mark Sanchez's bandwagon saying, oh, he's ready for prime time. Mark Sanchez is the next big thing. Mark Sanchez this and that. Well, big-time quarterbacks perform in big-time situations, and Mark Sanchez had a quarterback rating of just under 28 in that game. 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I guess somebody forgot to tell Mark Sanchez that he was playing against one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. When you keep pushing somebody, you keep pushing, you keep talking, eventually that person will push back. And that's how the Patriots responded to the Jets. They've been pushed long enough by the Jets. They got cocky because they beat them earlier in the season by 2 touchdowns. But late in the season, you see why the Patriots are the best team in the NFL, why Tom Brady has 3 Super Bowl rings, why Belichick has 3 Super Bowl rings, and why the Jets cannot be considered the best team in the NFL, and why they can't even be considered the best team in their own division.
You and I could have scored on that defense last night. Did you know that?
I think we could have.
I think we very easily could have. I think we could have put Brian Boss at center. I think we could have had his brother Carl Boss and you at receiver, me at quarterback. Oh, would have been a wrap. Would have been great.
They gave us a thumbs up in the back. So, yeah, it's a go. We might have to set up a game against the Jets.
Let's do it. All right. Now, I'm very upset this week, Anthony. 2 weeks ago was my most animated final word of the season. It was about Derek Jeter, and I didn't like the way the Yankees were treating him. This one is worse. Did you think it could get worse?
No, that was a pretty heated.
This one is worse. And in your mind, you're going to feel more heated about this one. Why? Next year, we could be without an NFL and an NBA. Lockouts. Both of them. What's the number one reason for this? Money. In the NFL, the owners believe they're not getting enough money. The players think the owners are getting too much money. The NBA, it's essentially the same thing. Now, look, if you're the NFL and the owners, you need to look inside yourself and say, I am making this much money in this economic time when there are people struggling to find a minimum wage job. So why make a big deal out of this? The NFL is a $9 billion industry. It is the wealthiest sports industry in the world. So the video game alone, Madden, NFL, is worth $3.5 billion. Combined, $12.5 billion. The owner of the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, is worth $13 billion. He could build 12 more of those $1 billion stadiums and still be a billionaire. That is unbelievable. Now, for the NBA, they've been talking about this for a while, but it was only recently that it came about that there now, Anthony, is a 99% chance there is going to be a lockout. Wow. And the past decade, everyone was on the case of Major League Baseball and all the problems they were having with the lockout. And we thought they were going to have a lockout in 2002. Did not happen. The NHL did have a lockout and did not recover. But baseball and the NHL, they are smiling right now. Because what will happen if the NBA and NFL are in lockouts, people are going to be like, wow, we need a professional sport to turn to. And this time of year, middle of the year, when there's no baseball, it's going to be college sports and the NHL. That's it. So listen, NFL, NBA, get your finances straightened out. Nobody wants to see a lockout. It would be absolutely disgusting. That's all the time we have for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Check us out on the web at www.mctv26.com. Check us out on Facebook. He's got a Facebook. I know he has a Facebook. He tagged me in a post right before this show.
I did.
This is Anthony Willis. I'm Michael Zahorsky. Mom, I said Michael, not Mike for you this week. I hope you're happy. Up top!
Hey, you did the paper before that time.